Welcome to the Plate Story Podcast. I'm Trista Polo from iwokeupawesome.com, and I am your host. In this podcast, we hear the fascinating stories behind vanity license plates all around the country. Today's guest is Erica Lupien from New York. She lives right in the Hudson Valley, and her license plate is SHEBEAST. Let's find out the story behind that. Hey, Erica, thanks so much for joining me on the Plate Story Podcast.
Pleasure to be a part.
We have Erica Lupien with us today. Now, she has a very cool license plate. It is SHEBEAST. I noticed on your Facebook it says, from what you've been told, there's only one word voracious enough to use to describe you, and that's badass. And I love that.
Yes, they wouldn't let me put that on the plate.
Oh, not even like BADA55?
No, I you know what? I thought about that, but I was like, you know what? I'm in business, and it would be a bad thing to do that, you know?
Yes, you're probably right, but I do like that. I think it's both words, SHEBEAST, badass, both very clear. Now, you're in New York.
Yeah. Yes, I am.
And what area of New York do you live in?
Orange County, New York, Newburgh, New York, right at the hub. Right
in the Hudson Valley. Okay, great. Mm-hmm. And you said because you're in business, so you own your own business, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Tell me a little about what you do for a living.
So it's a contracting business, general contracting. We do insurance restoration work, remodels, rebuilds, service calls, so on and so forth. We do a handful of different things.
There aren't many women that own contracting businesses. Is that true?
That's true. More and more recently, in the past few years, it's become very popular, and more women have been standing out and doing these types of things. But when I started in 2003, there were not a lot of women that did this kind of work. I kind of credit that to like HGTV. But more power. Like if you have the knowledge and you have the oomph to actually do it, then yeah, go ahead. Because I think that a lot of women have better insight and better foresight to organize things, to make things, we'll say, pretty, better organization, and so on and so forth, to actually get things done in the right way in the construction world.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, you said more women are getting into the profession. So what advice would you give a woman wanting to become a contractor?
Well, here's the thing. Like, there's a lot of men, a lot of older men in the professions that look down on. They don't want to talk to you. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're doing. So my suggestion would be to be informed, be knowledgeable, know what you're talking about, do the research, read the manuals, read the books, go to seminars, get the certifications from roofing companies, get the certifications from pavers and concrete companies and whatnot. Get the certifications, go take the classes. Most of the time they're free, and it's just time, but it's knowledge. And then you'll know these things, you'll understand these things. So you'll know what you're talking about. And you can tell, the 60-something-year-old old man that thinks he knows everything. No, you're wrong. This is how I want things to be. This is how they should be. This is what code says. Read the code book.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is definitely power, but you have to have the knowledge. You have to have the drive to learn it, to know it, and be interested in it. Not just, you know what, this looks pretty because I put curtains here. But, did you put the blockers behind the sheetrock to be able to hang the curtains without them falling down?
Yeah, that's great. And I agree with you that having the knowledge, being able to work with people that might not necessarily have the highest level of confidence because you're not the package they expect a contractor to come in, you can quickly change their mind. That's great. Definitely. That's great advice. That's great advice. So your license plate is SHEBEAST. Why did you choose that? What's the story behind that plate?
So my original vanity plate was my ex-husband's last name. So my ex-husband and I had been together for about 7 or 8 years, and we finally said, you know what, we're going to get married. I was so busy at the time that I never made it down to the Social Security office to change my last name officially because, when you change your last name officially, you have to change bank accounts and credit cards. everything. And there was so much stuff. So I never had it to go down. I never made it a point to go down to the Social Security office. So when my renewal came for the registration for my truck, and this, I think I'm going back to like 2009, 2010, the renewal came for my truck. So I was like, you know what? For ha-has, I'm going to change the plate on my truck to my husband's last name.
Okay. Instead of changing your name, you'll change your car's name.
Yep. And then some years later, unfortunately, came a divorce. And so after the divorce, I said, you know what? I have to get this plate off of my truck.
Yeah.
And I put a poll up on Facebook, actually, and I went on the DMV website and I typed in a bunch of different things that I thought were, you know, representative of me and of my truck, because my truck is all souped up and everything else. I wanted something that better represented me than my husband's last name, my ex-husband's last name. And so I put a poll up, and Facebook decided, and it was SHEBEAST.
So you chose a few that were available, and then you put up a poll, and your friends all voted, and SHEBEAST was the winner.
SHEBEAST was the winner, and I really, you know, I was kind of rooting for that one too, but I was trying to have fun with it at the same time. You know?
I love it. I love it. So what is SHEBEAST, how does that represent you?
How does it represent me? Because I am a strong person. I am mentally strong and I am physically strong. And it's, you know, that whole entire beast mode thing and whatnot that everybody says. So, and it's not typical. You know, I have a large truck. It's not typical for some woman or girl to be driving such a vehicle, you know. So, you know, I remember like a handful of times like, oh, that must be your man's truck. No, no, it's not my man's truck.
So now with that license plate, everybody knows that truck is mine.
Yes, exactly.
I love it.
So that was the, you know, that's the short story behind the license plate.
I love it. Now, does anybody ever stop you and talk to you or ask you about it?
Almost. Geez, if I had to average it out, it'd say about once a week.
Wow.
Yeah. I've had that truck for, let's see, it's a 2006, and I've had it since it was almost brand new. So I've had that truck for over 10 years now.
Wow, that must be a beast. What kind of truck is it? You said is it souped up? You said it's a big vehicle. Yes,
so it's a Ford F-350 dually, and it's black, and I keep it shiny. I wash it off every day.
Because in a construction site, it probably gets pretty dirty.
Oh, yes, definitely, every day. But, you know, I try to maintain it because it's also my personal driver, you know. So I try to maintain it and make it look nice because I don't like dirty things, and I don't like my truck being dirty, and my truck represents me, hence why I put such a personal plate on my vehial.
Is it the cleanest vehicle on a site that you are working in?
Always.
I had a feeling.
Always. It is the boss's truck, if you know the term. So,
yeah.
But it also does a lot of the work on the site. A month and change ago, I was pulling down some buildings on one of my sites, and I was using the truck to pull the buildings down. Toppled them right over, and it was really cool. It was awesome.
Wow. With contracting, I think of like redoing bathrooms and, you know, putting in tile, but you're tearing down buildings and you're doing it with the SHEBEAST.
Yes, exactly.
She's up for the job.
It lives up to the name. The truck lives up to the name. I live up to the name. I definitely wanted that custom plate. It represents me, and it's a conversation starter. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I never mind sitting and talking to anybody, whether it's I stop at Home Depot or another building supply place, and somebody comes up and talks to me about it, or I go to get a cup of coffee. People always come up and talk to me about it, and it's a really cool thing, and I enjoy the conversation.
Now, where can we see your SHEBEAST and you around the Hudson Valley? Where do you typically park it and drive it most?
Well, parking it and driving it most is usually up and down Union Avenue in Newburgh, or somewhere around Home Depot or any of the building supply places around Newburgh and New Windsor.
So tell us the name of your business. If you have a website, you're welcome to share it with us and give yourself a little plug.
All right. So my business is Unique Contracting, and I am Erica Lupien. My website is uniquecontractingny.com, and most of my things are on my Facebook, which is Erica Lupien Facebook. Most of my projects and things are posted on there, but I usually stay pretty busy through referrals and other sources, so I don't do a ton of advertising. I like to be hands-on with every project.
Erica, thanks so much for sharing a little bit about your plate and what you do for a living. I'd love to hear a little bit more about you. We've talked about your profession. What are you reading these days?
Usually I am reading articles in addition to the code book to stay up on my profession, building, so on and so forth. So typically that's what I tend to read most nights when, I get bored.
I love that. So not only do you work in your profession, you're constantly learning. Do you find that there's a lot of things that change that quickly that you need to read up on them so often?
Yes, because with everything going green and different materials coming out and so on and so forth, the code book is constantly changing what's acceptable to use in certain applications, so on and so forth. So yeah, it is kind of important to keep up on that stuff. And it's not exactly light reading. There's stacks of articles come out all the time.
For sure. I was going to say that is probably a lot to wade through, especially if they're talking about environmental related materials and impact on the environment and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, great. And now we already talked about what you would recommend for a woman getting into your business. So I probably could guess the answer to this question, but I'd love to hear what you have to say as well. What do you attribute your success in life and business to?
Success in life and business is a great support group behind me. Family and friends and networking. It really definitely contributes to being successful in life and in business. Having people behind you that support you and having, professional connections and so on and so forth to continue business and to continue relationships. Some of the networking groups and things that I've been to, I'm still great friends with years and years later, personal friends. Because sometimes I feel like business owners, small business owners, family businesses, mom and pop shops, things like that, we know what it takes. We know we've gone through, and we kind of band together sometimes.
I love that, because being part of a community, a team, having people who have your back really does make all the difference.
It really does. It definitely does. And I could definitely say a handful of success has come from that.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were in BNI in the past, right? That's how I got connected to you, through a BNI connection. Yep. Do you still participate in specific groups?
No, actually, I did. Last year, I was in a different group, and I am currently not in a chapter with BNI. And I would recommend it to anybody to go and do that, to get into the community, to meet people. Especially if you're just starting up, or if you've been in business for a little while, it's a great way to meet new business owners, different trades, so on and so forth.
Yep, I absolutely agree. I don't know that it's for everyone, but I think that so many businesses, solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, new businesses benefit greatly from creating that network, because it's so supportive.
Yes, it is, definitely.
Now, you are an entrepreneur and you are running your own business, so I'm sure your clients' demands keep you on your toes. What do you do to stay motivated, keep your head in the game, keep your head right about your business?
Sometimes, you run across a couple of clients, and, I'm sure anybody does, and I know a lot of people do. Some people that are overly demanding, and no matter how many times you explain things, they still just don't understand. Again, it goes back to the family and friends, the support group. This is what I do it for. I do it for them.
And you said you have a son. How old is he now?
Oh, a daughter. She's 9.
Oh, I'm sorry. A daughter. I apologize. You said your kid. And see what I did? I just assumed that was a boy.
How dare you?
How dare I? I agree with you. That's terrible. Shame on me. I apologize. Your daughter, so she's 9. Does she ever talk about wanting to follow in your footsteps?
I think that she is, she does. And she comes with me Like, for instance, a few months ago, in the fall time, it was time to clean the gutters at my own house. And she was here. She's like, Mom, I want to go up on the roof. I'm like, okay. The first time she had ever been on the roof, she was about 3 years old. And it was a flat roof, so it was fine. So, she's 9 years old. She's like, I want to go up on the roof. I want to help. She always wants to help. And so she gets on the roof, and then she climbs to the peak, sits on the peak, and plays with her phone and sends messages to all of her friends. I'm on the roof. This is so cool. Well, are you going to help there, kid? Or are you just going to sit up there? So that was, but no, what she does want to do, I don't know if she wants to do exactly what it is that I do, but I think she's more into the engineering and designing. Yeah, she's only 9, but it's good to have something that you actually want to do, something that you're interested in. So, and I would support her 100% to get into some sort of engineering or architectural type of field.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
Interested in, yeah.
That's really great. And it's wonderful that she feels comfortable around your job and feels free to be part of it in her own way.
Yeah, and even when she, all the way back to when she was about 3 years old, 4 years old again, I would take her with me, and she would help paint color samples on on walls for customers to look at, and they all absolutely adore her. It's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, no, it was great. And then, but unfortunately, one day, shortly thereafter, she learned painting. She picked up the wrong color at a paint tray in a wrong room and started painting a wall that was already painted on a job.
Oops.
So that was a quick fix, but it was adorable at the same time. Just wanted to help.
That's right. She's a self-starter. That's awesome.
Yeah.
She follows my philosophy in life, which is ready, fire, aim. Just go for it and you can clean it up later.
Yes, exactly.
That's awesome. Now, what do you do to stay healthy and fit? You know, they say that if without your health, that's the wealthiest you can be, is to be healthy. What do you do other than working in construction, which I bet does require you to pick things up and put things down?
I pick things up and put things down all day.
Yeah.
So that definitely keeps me on my toes. But I do try to, it depends on how busy I get and how I'm feeling or what's going on in life. But I do try to get to the gym. I have a regimen. I did used to use somebody I met through BNI, Lou Torres, TSA over in Wappingers Falls, and he is amazing. A great personal trainer, a great gym to go to. But that's what I do to stay fit and healthy.
That's great. And then how about your mind? How do you keep your mind right? Do you have any practices that you use to stay mindful and present?
Well, it's, I don't think that I need to practice or keep up on that because it's just something that you do. I do anyway. I don't let negativity get to me. I try to understand and I try to have patience, and some people say I have the patience of a saint, which I think I do most of the time. I won't say all the time, most of the time. So there's not really a lot that I do. It's just a natural understanding of how the world works and how some people work, and it's just an understanding thing, and that helps me stay mindful, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a very simple but effective approach to just keep yourself in a positive attitude and keep that patience in check. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just one final question. I know I've been doing all the asking. If there was one question you'd like to ask me, do you have any questions for me?
Yes, about how do you get into doing the podcast thing? I think this is a great idea. It's an awesome idea. Going around finding people, talking to people, getting stories. What inspired you to do that?
Well, actually, it's funny because what inspired me is realizing what someone must go through, the mental gymnastics someone must go through to pick a vanity plate. Because I went through them myself and I thought, oh my gosh, this is harder than I thought it would be. I can only pick 8 characters. They have to mean something. Do I want it to be spiritual? Do I want it to promote my business? Do I want it to be someone I love? There's just so many options. And the only restriction is 8 characters and nobody has chosen it yet. So just going through those mental gymnastics and realizing you have one car You have one chance. You know, it's like picking a tattoo, except a tattoo, you could get more of them if you wanted to. Just put one on your other leg, you know? So I thought, and the other piece of it was, you know, you always see these plates and you're trying to figure out what they say, because some of them are pretty complicated. And they're kind of inside baseball. Unless you know what they mean, you don't know what they mean. And I just thought, I'm curious. I want to know not just what some of these mean, but I want to know the story behind it. And
why somebody chose to do that. Yeah, it is a curious thing. I see plates all the time. I'm trying to read them like C8, this, that. Okay, well, wait, and you only have about 30 seconds to look at it while you're stopped at a light. Like, all right, how does this make sense? Wow.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Well, Erica, do you have any final words for us on the Plate Story podcast?
You know what? I do. It's not that expensive. People think it's ridiculous to spend money on such a personalized thing, but at the same time, it's a great conversation starter. It's a great expression of yourself and your vehicle. And if it's something that I think you should toy around with and see if something that you like is available. It's really easy to do. You go on DMV's website and you can toy around with different things. It's a cool thing to do. That's all.
Yeah, I agree with you. It is a pretty simple process. And I love that you got your community involved to help you pick it. I think that's such a great idea. And just having it be something that really speaks to you. I agree with you. It's not that expensive, and it's a great way to show off a little bit of your own personality when you're driving around.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks for being on the Plate Story podcast. It's such a great time talking to you, and I wish you a wonderful new year.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Plate Story Podcast. If you would like to nominate the owner of a license plate, including you, visit PL8STORY.com. That's PL8STORY.com and give us the details. I'm Trista Polo from IWokeUpAwesome.com, wishing you well on the road to your next adventure. Bye-bye now.